Hey guys, hey, this is Anne Marie and welcome to the Anti-HR channel. And on this video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about Project 2025, a policy agenda authored by the Heritage Foundation and backed by conservative think tanks. I think it's really important for people to understand how Project 2025 could impact workplace rights and labor laws in the United States if the Republican candidate for president is elected in November. As you all know, we have an election in a couple of weeks that's going to be happening in the United States on November 5th. And America has some significant and stark choices to make in terms of who will be the leader of the country for the next 4 years. One of the things that I think is very important for us to understand is this manifesto. I consider it a manifesto, Project 2025, which was written by the Heritage Foundation. And, there are lots of conservative think tanks. Well, there's several of them, as well as liberal think tanks, and they put out documents all the time. So the question becomes, why should we be concerned about this one? The reason we should be concerned about this one is because people who are closely aligned with the Republican candidate for president, Donald Trump, are the authors, the founders of the Heritage Foundation and the authors of Project 2025. And they have openly said that it is their expectation that in the next Republican presidency, especially if it is headed by Donald Trump, that the ideas that they have laid out in this document would be implemented in the next Republican administration. So it's very important for those of us who are voters in the United States to understand the importance and the significance of this document and to take action relevant to how you vote. If you are a worker in the United States, I think there are significant concerns that individuals should have about what is in this document and the possibility of it being implemented if the Republican candidate is elected, because it lays out plans and a blueprint for dismantling vital labor protections, okay? So Project 2025 lays out the blueprint, as I said, to reshape American governance. And part of that includes dismantling labor protections. Now, there's some key provisions that you all should be aware of and frankly concerned about, in my opinion. One of the key provisions in Project 2025 is diminishing the EEOC. If you watched my video earlier this week where I talked about the EEOC and the importance of the EEOC in combating discrimination in the workplace, this should definitely be a concern. Project 2025 advocates want to downsize agencies like the EEOC, which enforces laws against workplace discrimination. If this happens, Black women, Black men, and other people of color will face even more hurdles proving cases of workplace discrimination. And I would argue that that is the intention, right? It will make it harder for people to bring cases to court to fight discrimination in their workplace. Another concern is the intention of weakening OSHA, right? The plan calls for scaling back OSHA's powers, putting workers, especially Black employees, particularly Black women in industries like healthcare, at greater risk of unsafe working conditions. As you know, OSHA lays out regulations for ensuring that workplaces are safe and in compliance with certain laws, and it gives employees steps that they can take if they feel that their workplaces are unsafe, specifically particular industries. And I want to pause to say, I have written quite a pretty detailed blog post on this subject. It is on my website. It will be linked in the description of this video. I think it's really important for people to understand Project 2025 as well as possible. So I wrote this blog post that I give more information in there. So I would suggest that after you watch this video, go to the description of this video, link to the blog post and read it, and then take action. So third thing I think you need to be aware of is the other goal of Project 2025 relevant to labor and workplace protections is undermining unions. And this is a big part of it. Project 2025 wants to expand right to work laws across the nation, okay? What does that mean? Right to work laws allow employees to work in unionized workplaces without being required to join the union or pay union dues. On the surface, that might sound really appealing and great, right? But in reality, these laws weaken unions by reducing their funding and power to collectively bargain for better wages, benefits, and workplace protections for its members. This makes it harder for unions to fight for workers, especially Black employees and other marginalized employees who benefit from protections that unions provide. So by expanding right to work across the nation, it would actually be undermining unions, and that's the intention. Another goal of Project 2025 is to roll back FLSA protections. FLSA, as I've explained in a past video, is the Fair Labor Standards Act. And the Fair Labor Standards Act has rules and laws around workplace hours of work, overtime pay, right? What Project 2025 lays out is an intention to reduce overtime pay and make it easier for employers to misclassify workers, further disadvantaging Black employees, especially Black women, who rely on overtime pay to support their families. So this is a big one, their intention to roll back FLSA protections. The other big goal of Project 2025, and a huge goal of the Republican Party, is to eliminate DEI programs. And as you have seen, the Republican-controlled Supreme Court has outlawed affirmative action. They've actually made terms like critical race theory almost like a bad word, when critical race theory is actually a really good thing if you understand what it is, right? So the project intends to further target diversity, equity, inclusion programs, which have been critical in advancing the interest of Black people and specifically Black women in leadership and promoting equity in the workplace, not just for Black employees, but for all employees of color. So this agenda clearly threatens American labor laws, especially for marginalized groups and marginalized people. What should you be doing? Well, as I said, the first thing I think is to educate yourself. As I said, I've written a detailed blog post. I've explained these dangers you can find in the description of the video. Then the other thing I would recommend is get your glass of wine and go read Project 2025 for yourself. And I will link it to the description of this video. It's very long. You may have to read it in chunks, but I think it's important to read it. I think it's important for every American that cares anything about democracy and the rule of law and equality and equity in our society to read this document and understand the intention of its authors and the intention of the Republican Party and those in that party that support it, right? They may argue that they have nothing to do with it, but if you read their platform and you read Project 2025, you're going to see clear, you're going to see a lot of the same things being said in different ways on the Republican platform that is in Project 2025. So you're going to see a lot of similarities between the two documents. So, and Donald Trump has already, indicated his intention to name some of the people associated with this document to key positions in his administration, including his already selected vice presidential candidate, who is closely aligned with the Heritage Foundation. So, don't believe it if anyone says that it has nothing to do with the Republican Party and that there's no intention to implement it. That's not true. It's just clearly not true. And if you just listen to what the candidate himself says, he's talked a lot over the last several weeks about dismantling the Department of Education, for example, right? And his intention to punish states that teach the real true history of the United States and so on. So there is an intention to implement Project 2025 by the Republican candidate. So do not let people who are members of the Republican Party who are running for public office, not just for president, try to disassociate themselves with this document. It's theirs and they should have to own it. And you should make it your business to read it so that you know what is in there and you're educated about what is in there before the election. But the most important thing that you can do, obviously, is to vote. Vote on November 5. Vote in this election. Make sure you are registered. Make sure that your registration is current and vote. You can go to vote.gov or Can I Vote to check your registration and learn how to vote for candidates who will protect your labor rights. I hope this video was helpful. I hope it was informative. I hope it gave you something to think about. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video to help spread the word. If there are any parts of what I talked about that you'd like me to do a deeper dive into, please let me know in the comments and I will do that. Please read the blog post that I wrote because it gives a lot more detail than I do in this video. We need to protect our workplace rights. You have to protect your rights, and the only way you can do that is by voting for a candidate who's going to fight for your rights, not against your rights. So please keep that in mind and understand that knowledge is power, especially when it comes to this. Understanding what is in this document is very important. Knowledge is power, and your vote is your voice. Make sure that you use it. This is Anne Marie. See you in the next video. Bye.